So, did anyone of you, I saw that there were some recordings. The assignment was to make a 2-minute recording telling what you understand about the current situation with the government shutdown. One difference between the systems of government in the United States and in Russia, and asking a question. So I listened to these, but I can't remember who posted. So did any of you post?
No.
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 Okay. And Anna, did you post? You did.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you posted your 2-minute audio recording?
Yes. In the comments.
In the comments. Okay. That part I didn't see. And Nadia, what about you?
I'm not good. How I thought, I need time to learn
Islam. Okay.
Yes.
Sure. So the assignment was the first component of the assignment. We will go through this together and see if you had any questions or anything that you did not understand. So the first thing was to describe your understanding of the current situation of the U.S. government. So, okay. I don't know if somebody's clicking on that, but please don't, because every time you click on it, I lose my spot. Okay. What is your understanding of the current situation involving suspension of certain activities in the U.S. government? So what is your understanding of the current situation? The government shutdown. So I'll just write that. AKA also known as the government shutdown that everyone is talking about. And then 2 was supposed to be, what is one difference, or more than one, between the systems of government in the United States and in Russia? And lastly, you're supposed to have at least one question. Ask at least one question about something that is unclear, or perhaps simply a question you would like to ask pertaining to the U.S. government, or U.S. with a system of government. Okay, so I would like everybody to do this now. Let's start with number 1. I would like everybody to tell me what they have heard about the current the shutdown of the U.S. government. What you have heard, why it's happening, and maybe your opinion. Just tell me what you know. Julia, would you like to start?
Okay. So this for me, after I have seen this exercise about the shutdown of American government, I read several articles about it in Russian and in English, and so now I'm going to say what I have understood about the current situation in the USA. So as I have understood, there is now, and however it was every time there is a battle, a struggle between two major contemporary parties, between the Republican Party and Democratic Party. And as we all know that now in the USA, Democratic Party is leading, and Barack Obama is the representative of this party. So, however, each of them, both of them are striving for the same goal. So they want the same thing. I mean that on the one side, the Democratic Party has attempted to increase the power of its party by making this reform in sales service. And on the other side, Republican Party, as it is not leading in the USA, has tried to reduce their power of the Democratic Party. By the way, I have read some results of the sociological research, sociological surveys, and they show that the most of the population of American population thinks that Republican Party is guilty in this situation. People think that it's better to, let's say, so in other words, the popularity of the Republican Party is, how to say, it's falling down. But nevertheless, people don't want to see the real problem. In my opinion, the real problem is connected with the funding gap that is determined by the coming in the form of the health services, which is commonly, as we know, it is Obamacare. It is called Obamacare. So,
that's very good, Yulia. It seems as though you have a very good understanding of what's going on right now in Washington. It seems as though you're pretty spot on, actually, with what's going on. Does anybody else, I would like to hear from perhaps you on what is your understanding, or is there anything about the government shutdown that is unclear?
I don't know what to do. I think I don't touch in detail, but in the field tell us. So I don't know what the.
Okay, so we can come back to this one, but before I say much more about the government shutdown, I wanted to hear from all of you first so that I'm not simply giving information because, for example, Yulia really understood it. So I'll wait to say anything about the government shutdown, my understanding of it, until after I hear from some of you. So, Natasha, please tell me, is there anything that's unclear about the government shutdown, or what is your understanding?
I absolutely agree with Yulia, and in order to not repeat, I just want to add that in common, in general, I see that government shutdown, as you say, affects has very bad influence on the people, on the Native Americans, for example, and it has effects on the tourists also. For example, the closure of the Statue of Liberty really frustrated some tourists, and also some staff in the personnel, problems at the specific departments at the organization. They are also very bad, and to sum up, we see that there is no good results of the shutdown, and in my opinion, I think it's all about different views on the situation for the parties, Democratic or Republican. So
exactly. Yeah, that's very good. You seem to understand it very well as well. Nadia, you said that you had a lot of questions. Did you have a specific question about this situation at all?
I'm sure that I have a lot of understanding this situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my family.
Well, I can just to give you an example. One of my Russian students from my teenage class, he asked me after class, he said, I would like to ask you, is the United States government going bankrupt? Because there were some apparent sources overseas that were saying that the United States government was going to go bankrupt. That's not what was happening. Basically, the government had to make a decision regarding its debt. And this is an important term that you'll see a lot, the debt ceiling. The debt ceiling. And that basically means how high the debt can go. And it was approaching the end of the fiscal year, and the Republicans and the Democrats could not make a decision about the debt ceiling, whether or not to increase the amount that the government can borrow every year. Yulia was absolutely right, though, that the debt, the amount of money that the United States borrows every year, was not the only reason for this disagreement. Another very important reason was Obamacare. Does anybody know anything about Obamacare? So, health insurance can be a pretty expensive thing in the United States. Healthcare is not accessible to everyone. Not everyone can afford to have health insurance, yet it's something that you must have, because if you get in a very serious accident and you have no health insurance, hospitals will treat you, but basically, as soon as you're out of the hospital, people are going to be calling you trying to collect the money that you owe. And if you don't have the money to pay for your health care, they can take your home, they could take your car, they could take money directly from your paychecks. It's a horrible situation to be in. So Obamacare sort of makes insurance more affordable for everyone. It's not to say that insurance for everyone will always be completely free, but it's to make it more accessible to every American. So as Yulia said, Obamacare is a really contentious issue. I'm going to write this in the chat. A contentious issue. Contentious issue. It means it's a hot issue. It's a very difficult issue, something that people argue about a lot. So, yes, that's precisely, that's another part of the government shutdown. And I think it was it Yulia or Natasha? Did you mention that now people are trying to work for a common goal in terms of the Democrats and the Republicans?
Mm-hmm.
Someone mentioned this, I think. Was that you, Yulia?
Could you repeat, please? I haven't understood.
I think you mentioned that right now Democrats and Republicans are trying to work towards a similar goal.
Yes, I have mentioned.
Mm-hmm. And what is the similar goal now?
Each of them is trying to increase its the power it's party.
Mm-hmm. And its influence, yeah. But also right now, the government shutdown has caused so much controversy and has made the American people so angry that now they also have a new common goal to get things going again, to stop the government shutdown because Americans are angry. They're very angry. There are some people working, government employees can be working without a paycheck. As Natasha mentioned, some tourist locations have been closed, national parks, places like Statue of Liberty, disrupted things. Very disruptive. Okay. So, good. I'm glad to see that you guys have an understanding of that relatively. Anna and Nadia, did this help your understanding of the shutdown? Do you understand more now? Anna and Nadia? can't hear anything. Okay. Well, anyway, so we don't waste too much time on this. The next question that you were supposed to look up is at least one difference between the system of government in the United States and the system that you have in Russia. So, Anna, can you tell me what is one difference between our system of government?
Yes, about executive branch. It means that our president in USA is second of each an executive branch. But in Russia, the president is the head of state also. But what about this executive branch? The head of it is the government office. In USA, the president not only head of state, but head of one of branch. But in Russia, the president has not one of the branch. He is head of state in state.
Yeah, so the president is the head of the executive branch. Okay, good. Good. Nadia, one difference between the systems of government. Your microphone's muted. There you go. Do you know one difference between the systems of government in the United States and in Russia? Nadia? Okay, Natasha, let's go on you.
One of the differences between United States and Russia politics is the presidential elections. Elections are different, and the main difference between elections is the electoral college, and also it's a different number of parties in the USA and in the Russia. For example, Russia has a different number of parties, while in the United States there are only a few. So also one of the differences of the elections that in the United States there is a vice president. However, in the Russia, there is no vice president. Here is prime minister. The second, let's say,
Yeah, no, that's an important difference. You're right. The electoral college is a pretty confusing system. I can see why a lot of people don't adopt that system, but it works relatively well for us, so that's good. Julia, what about you?
I also want to say about the electoral system. I'm not sure if I understood right, because I understood Natasha right, but I will say, and if I'm wrong, please say. So the difference I have found is that in the USA, the representatives of parties and of the government are by the population. And in Russia, the Council of Federation is composed of 2 representatives from each member of each region of the federation. So that is.
Yeah, the electoral college though, that's a little bit different. So of course we have the 2 houses of Congress, which are what's the first house, the lower house? The House of Representatives. And then we also have the Senate, and that's the higher house. So the members of the House of Representatives, the state's population will determine how many delegates the state has in the House of Representatives. So even though it could be a big state like Montana, geographically, if it has a small population, it's going to have fewer delegates in the House of Representatives. But in the Senate, what's the difference?
In Russia, the difference between Russia and the same. Yes?
No, well, this is more specifically just within the United States. So, for example, the difference between the House of Representatives and the Senate in the United States. Does anybody know? Natasha, do you know?
I don't know what to
Okay.
say.
That's okay. Anna, what about you? Okay. So, basically, as I said, the number of representatives that each state will have out of the House of Representatives based on population. The Senate, every state, regardless of the population size, will have two senators. And these things together, sort of the number of senators and the number of House representatives, these together determine how many electoral votes each state will have. And the system of the Electoral College is, it's weighted. The president or the president-to-be has to receive a certain number of electoral votes. So he has to, receive so many votes from each state in order to become president. So it's almost like indirect voting. People are voting for a president, but yet at the same time their votes go through the process through the Electoral College. And that's how the president is elected. So it's a confusing system. Yes, but it's just important to remember some rules about the legislative branch. And that makes it a little bit clearer. Okay, I think now any other questions then, because this is the third part of your task for the week, was if there were any other questions or issues that you had that you would like to be made clear. We can begin with Anna. What was your question?
Maybe I would like to know more about excessive days in the day. In a particular which public authorities are responsible for it.
In the executive branch?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically the key figure in the executive branch is the president. The president and his cabinet members, basically, but mostly the president. So as the figurehead, the leader of the country, the president is also the leader of the executive branch. He has powers in wartime. He can send troops to war without congressional approval, but this can only happen for a maximum of 2 months. And then because the House of Representatives and the Senate, they have the power of the purse, as we say, the power of the purse. So the president needs congressional approval to fund activities overseas. So in theory, he could send troops overseas to war, the president can, but if he wants it to be paid for, then he needs to have the Congress to approve. So that's an important difference there. The president can also veto bills. What's a bill? A law? A bill. Yeah, it's like a law. It's like a law that's in its first stages. It's not a law yet. It's a piece of legislation, a draft piece of legislation. Yes. So if the bill makes it all the way up to the president, he can either sign it and it can go into effect, or he can, what's his other option? The word that starts with a V.
Veto?
Veto, exactly. He's got the power of veto. He can do that. So that's another important difference. Anna, did that answer your question? Okay, good. Irina, are you there? Can you hear us? If you can, your microphone is muted. Okay. Irina, are you there?
I'm awake and I'm not in the subject.
Not on the subject?
Yeah, what's the thing?
So we were asking what your questions were. So part of the assignment for this week was to have at least one question for the teacher about the American political system. What was your question?
My question is,
And also, Irina, if you can, please turn on your video camera.
okay. This week, there is the issue with people in Russia or in US.
Okay. Can you say that closer to the camera, please, so it's louder? Can you say it louder?
Yes. Good.
Yeah, maybe.
My question is, do you think there is a difference between responsibility people in America and in Russia for the president?
Oh, okay. If the American president has a greater responsibility to the people?
Yes.
Ah, that's an interesting question. At first, my first response just personally would be, I would say yes, because I'm not so sure. I know that Putin's popularity levels are still pretty high, but yet he seems to have a lot of power concentrated in the executive branch. So the more power the president has, the less accountable he becomes to the people. So my personal opinion would be just based upon that fact right there, he would be less beholden to the Russian people than perhaps the American president, because that does mean a lot, how popular the president is. If he will be able to run another term, which of course Barack Obama will not be able to, but will he be able to accomplish anything during his term? Will the Congress sort of pass anything that he wants to push through? So that's my quick answer to that question. That's a difficult question. I should ask, what is your opinion?
I think the answer is good, and I think so, and I divide with the.
Yeah, well, I hope I answered it. So, Natasha, what was your question?
What is the relationship between the state and the central government?
Oh, that's an interesting one. That's an interesting question. So, that's the whole question of federalism. This is what I was going to ask you to make sure you all understand the concept of federalism. So basically, in a nutshell, as a quick answer, the federal government has the authority on all of the important questions, the most important questions. But in terms of the state's revenue, the money that each specific state brings in on its own, it can choose to spend this money how it sees fit, as long as it is not violating the Constitution of the United States. So that's the important thing there. Because the system is a federalist system, it means that each state has a lot of responsibility, a lot of options in terms of how to operate affairs within that state, whether it be education or cleaning the streets or just maintenance of the state as a whole. So on the level of civil rights or constitutional questions, though, the state must always obey the U.S. Constitution and must always follow the rules as a whole. Does that answer the question? Yeah. So it's sort of wherever the state does not step over the Constitution, as long as it's in line with the Constitution, it's okay. That's a good question, though. That's another complicated aspect of the U.S. government. Yulia, your question?
I have got two questions, and one of them is I consider it to be simple, but I need it to be answered. So my question is it true that laws in different states, laws in different states may differ from each other?
Yes, that's true. That's true. And like I said, as long as those laws aren't violating the Constitution, it's okay. For example, some states, think of alcohol, for example, the sale of alcohol. In some states, you cannot purchase alcohol on Sundays. In some states. And in other states, you can. So these are some little differences, smaller differences, that they might affect you in your daily life. For example, if you want to go buy liquor on a Sunday. But yeah, it's possible some states can have different.
And so what about death penalty?
That's also a very important difference. Each state can decide how it wants to approach the death penalty because there is no federal or government-wide, country-wide consensus on the death penalty. So basically, if the populace, the citizens of that state, want the death penalty, if they think it's something that's correct for them, then they are largely allowed to have the death penalty. It's on a state-by-state basis. For example, Texas has the death penalty. Some other states, many other states do not. Iowa doesn't have the death penalty. That's where I'm from. Or some states have the death penalty, but only certain types. For example, death by firing squad or death by lethal injection, something like that. And that will restrict whether or not they actually use their ability to use the death penalty.
And so actually there's one more difference between Russia and USA. So in our country we have similar laws. They may differ, but a little bit, a very little bit, so not connected with death penalty, for example. And my second question is, could you name several benefits of the political system of the USA in comparison with, for example, Russia?
Okay. I can try off the top of my head. I think that the system of checks and balances, first I'm going to write this down. I would like to make sure that everybody understands the system of checks and balances. Natasha, can you explain checks and balances? Your microphone's on mute. There you go.
I'm not sure.
Checks and balances, who knows? Anna, do you know? Checks and balances. I wrote it here on the screen. Do you see it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Irina, do you know what checks and balances are?
No.
Sorry? It has to be louder. It's very quiet. So, this is a very important principle in the United States. Yes, Yulia?
If I'm not mistaken, it means that it is connected with the separation of powers.
Exactly.
So no party can be more powerful than another. Oh, no. If I'm not mistaken,
Exactly. Separation of powers. So this is basically to ensure that neither the executive branch, nor the legislative branch, nor the judicial branch, no one can become more powerful than anyone else. And so, to me, this is an important part that of the government that makes it operate usually as well as it does, because the president does not have unlimited powers, neither does the Congress, neither does the Supreme Court, so that there always have to be some level of consensus in each of these branches. So it seems as though it's more democratic, so that one person or one group of people cannot make decisions for the entire country. So it seems as though the laws that go into place or how this country is run is fairer, or it's more democratic. The nature of it is more democratic as a whole. I think that the system of, for example, choosing the number of people in the House versus in the Senate, I think that's also very fair. That's another benefit I see, because in the Senate and the higher house, everyone is equal. But yet in the lower house, in the House of Representatives, it's based upon population. So we have something to please everyone, sort of. And I suppose what I like also most now about my government is the fact that people are becoming more and more open-minded in terms of gay marriage, in terms of women's rights to make decisions about her own body, those sorts of things. Because I tend to be a relatively liberal person, so these are things that I'm very happy to see, is that it's sort of universal rights, no matter your gender, no matter your race. And I think there are a lot of protections in place to make sure that people aren't discriminated against, whether or not they're, gay or homosexual or black or Hispanic or Asian. So for me, this is a very important part of what makes the government run well. So I don't know if you necessarily agree. What's your opinion?
I wanted to say about the democratic side of the USA. So I think that I wanted to ask you. Okay, I wanted to ask you about your relation to the government shutdown, governmental shutdown, because I think that this governmental shutdown was actually produced by the democratic system of the USA. You have said about the consensus which should always be in this country. And so in this situation, in this shutdown, I think that it was caused by the deficit, by the absence of these consensus. And so I think that democratic political system is really good. But sometimes it can determine such not good situation like this governmental shutdown. I'm not sure if you agree with me about this, my opinion.
It's true. It's true. The best thing that I can think of in response to that is just that no government is perfect, that there are always going to be faults here and there, and part of the beauty of a multi-party system, I suppose, is that everyone can be heard. But when everyone can be heard, you're going to have a mishmash of opinions and not always the most intelligent opinions. And so sometimes that's the part, just like with freedom of speech. I'm really happy that I have the freedom of speech, but sometimes I wish that other people didn't. We say stupid people. I wish stupid people didn't have the freedom of speech, because that's what gets broadcast all over the rest of the world. You see rednecks making these ridiculous comments or asking President Obama for his birth certificate. It's like, oh, why? So sometimes things happen. I would like to show you, I'm writing in the chat, there's a really great quote by one of our founding fathers, James Madison. So it says, does everybody see it in the chat?
Yes.
If men were angels, no government would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary. In framing a government which is to be administered by men over men, the great difficulty lies in this. you must first enable the government to control the governed, and in the next place oblige it to control itself. A dependence on the people is, no doubt, the primary control on the government, but experience has taught mankind the necessity of auxiliary precautions. Has anyone ever heard this quote before?
No, I haven't.
I love it because it just illustrates the point perfectly.
Could you explain what the last two words mean?
Basically,
precautions.
Yeah, it just means, how should I, so do you know what a precaution is?
No.
It's caution, basically. Caution. You're exercising caution, being careful in your actions. You're being careful. So he's saying that on the one hand, people or depending on people is important, or rather, the people should be dependent upon the government. That's an important factor, but yet it should also work in the reverse.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's saying, is that the opposite should also be true. The government should be responsible to the people just as much as the people should be reliant upon the government. It should work both ways. But I really like this quote a lot. I would encourage you guys to think of this quote again. It really has a lot of wise thoughts in it. I'd like to hear some other opinions about it, actually. Anna, have you heard this quote before?
No.
No? And what do you think of it? Seems very wise to me, personally. But we don't have to waste too much more time on this, actually. What I would like to do also now, while we were talking about the current situation, the government shutdown, is here. Let's describe what is going on in this picture. Irina, can you tell me what you see in this picture?
I think in this picture we can see the conflict between public and the society and between government. Because not the something in government, but public support and society they honestly do not agree any kind or other people's development.
Yeah. And Anna, who is the elephant? Who does the elephant represent? Who does the elephant in this picture represent?
I think
Who?
Maybe authority.
Think about, sorry, Natasha, say again?
It's Republican Party.
Yes. Exactly, because the symbol of the Republican Party is the elephant, and the symbol of the Democratic Party is the donkey. Yes, so exactly. This, see if you know some of these words here. These are sort of words for mundane objects. But what is this called? Does anyone know? We simply call this a plug-in. This is a plug-in. So we see a connection between public support and government. And this we call simply an on and off switch, or a light switch. But we're going to call it an on-off switch. And that's also the verb, to switch it on, to switch it off. So here we see the donkey, not the donkey, the elephant, stepping further and further away from what?
Public support?
Yeah, from public support. And so he's stepping slowly away from public support, or from what the society wants, apparently. And we see this. How do we know? What's happening here? I'll write it in the chat. He's coming unplugged. So to plug in is also the verb. So this object on the wall is called a plug-in. The verb is also to plug in. And the opposite of to plug in is to unplug. So he's coming unplugged. And what is he reaching for? Irina, what is he reaching for?
Can you write in the chat?
Yeah, sure. The question, what is he reaching for? So to reach, you reach out with your hands, for example. What is he reaching for?
He wants to take off.
Yep. So we say he's reaching for the on and the off switch. He wants to turn the government off. And this really represents what Yulia said at the beginning of the class, that public opinion is not behind the Republicans right now. The Republicans expected that their decisions, their actions would be popular. They thought they would be supported by the public. But when they caused the government shutdown, people became very angry. And the Republicans soon found that people were not behind them at all. They did not have the support of the public. Because the public thinks, we have to work. We have to get on with our daily lives. Why isn't the government working? What is it doing for us right now? That's the problem, especially when people argue so much about taxes. They're thinking, put our tax dollars to work. Go to work, you know? So I think that's really interesting. I like this cartoon a lot. It really makes you think. And so now I'm going to get rid of this cartoon. And let's go here. We're going to take a little bit of time to do this activity. So the task is, decide which policies and political positions, symbols, and presidents belong to either Democrats, D, and Republicans, R. So now your job is to either put a D or an R in each cell. So this is a cell, this is a cell, this is a cell. So you'll have to choose, is this a Democratic policy or opinion, or is it a Republican? And then you'll have to write D or R, okay? I want everyone to write in at least one cell, okay? So do you know how to write on the board? You know how, right? Otherwise, if you don't know, I will quickly explain it. So on the top left of the screen, there is a letter T. You are going to click on the letter T. And then also to the right of the letter T, there is a box with color. You can click on the color, choose your color. And then once you have your color, you click anywhere on the screen. And then you start to write. Okay? Does everybody understand what I want you to do?
Yes.
Okay, let's do this now. I want everybody to fill in these cells. We'll take a couple minutes to do this. And let me know if you have any more questions, because I can try to explain how to do this in Russian. Perfect. Somebody's doing it. Who is purple?
Me.
Oh, good. Okay. Irina, do you know how to do this?
Yes.
Okay, good. Anna, do you know how? Okay. So on the top left of the screen, there's a letter T. Click on the letter T. And then click on the screen to write. It's put quick start. The letter T. Yulia, do you know how to do this?
Yes, I know. I'm thinking about the right answer.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure everybody isn't confused about how to do it. Okay. Anna, do you understand how? Okay, so I can try. Do you want me to try to explain? I can try to use my Russian and explain. If you want.
Yes.
Yes, what?
I choose and what should I do?
I потом просто нажимайте на доске где-то и пишите. B, R. Is it Democrat? Okay, good. Who is green?
I am.
Okay. Yulia is green. Natasha is purple. Who's pink? Irina?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to write this to myself in the chat. So Irina is pink. Natasha is purple. Yulia is green. Anna, what is your color? What is your color? So far, you guys are doing really well. Who is light green? I see dark green and I see light green. Anna, you are light green?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. Looks like we're almost done. Let's take just one more minute and check your answers. I see a couple of things that I don't agree with. So check your answers.
Oh, 이상하다.
Our chart is looking very colorful. Okay, let's start going over this. So 3 of you said, it looks like Irina, Anna, and Natasha say that Democrats favor minimum wages and progressive taxation, which means higher tax rates for higher income brackets. So, Yulia, do you agree with this?
Yes, I do.
Yes, I agree. Sorry?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. All of you agree, yes, Republicans tend to believe that taxes shouldn't be increased. Republicans especially do not like taxes. Military spending, Republicans want to increase, yes. Democrats want to decrease military spending. Republicans tend to oppose gay marriage. Democrats tend to support gay marriage. Republicans tend to think that abortion should be illegal. Democrats tend to think it should be legal. A lot of Republicans support the death penalty. That's true. Opponents of the death penalty are a substantial fraction of the Democratic Party. True. Social and human ideas based upon community and social responsibility. All of you said Democrats. I would agree. And gun control laws. Republicans are against gun control laws and support the Second Amendment to carry concealed weapons. Okay, I see one thing. Let's look at this one. Do you think, really, you all said that Democrats favor a small government, both in terms of the number of people employed by the government and in terms of the responsibilities of government in society. So, do Democrats think that government has fewer responsibilities in society? This is here. Do you all agree with your answers here? What do you think, Natasha? Do you agree with the answers there under role of government?
I didn't answer on the role of the government, and I'm not sure if the answers are right.
Right or wrong, yeah.
Because Democratic Party is also very dramatic role.
Yes, Okay, so we have some uncertainty there. What about you, Julia?
I think that Democratic Party favor an active role for government, and we can see it on this current situation of the governmental shutdown that Democratic Party is this Obamacare reform. So, and as for Republican Party, they, if I'm not mistaken, Republican Party is for the, let's say, market relationships, and they don't want government to have an active role in the social life.
Yes. Well, it depends on the level of social life. For example, they don't want the government to interfere in anything related to the economy. They think that it should regulate itself. So, okay, so we'll go through and we'll change these answers because I agree with Yulia. So Democrats tend to believe that the government can improve the quality of people's lives, whereas Republicans usually think that it is the individual's responsibility to provide for him or herself. So Democrats usually support social services and social programs in terms of, for example, food stamps or welfare or Medicaid, Social Security. And Republicans usually do not. So then we have here, Republicans usually favor a small government in terms of they think fewer people should be employed by the government and the government should have fewer responsibilities in society because it's the individual's responsibility. Okay, next one. Everyone says Democrats are liberal. They tend to be liberal, not always, right? Conservatives tend to be Republicans. Yes, the elephant, the donkey, blue and red. And actually, yes, you were correct here as well with saying that Lincoln, Roosevelt, Reagan, and Nixon were all Republicans. And Roosevelt, Kennedy, Wilson, and Jimmy Carter, they were Democrats. So, very good. Actually, you guys did a very good job with this chart. Okay, so now what I would like us to do, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 people. So, let's see. Yulia is going to be, Yulia and Anna, you are Republicans. Irina and Natasha, you are Democrats. We are going to have a debate. We're going to have a debate about our policies, which policies are better. And you can even talk about the government shutdown if you want. So if you desire, you can go through and you can begin debating this. You can say, you think that there should be minimum wage because blah, blah, blah. And the Republicans can say, no, minimum wage. It's all based upon economics. Okay, so let's begin this with economic ideas. Who would like to make the first argument? Democrats or Republicans?
I think the ruling party should do it.
Okay. Democrats? Democrats, your first argument. And you guys can write each other in the chat as well. The Democrats can write each other privately in the chat, and the Republicans can write each other privately in the chat as well. Or you can simply each say something now, take turns saying something. Okay, so let's hear the Democrats' argument about the argument in favor of minimum wages and progressive taxation. You can do it, Democrats. So that's Natasha and, what did I say, Natasha and Anna? Or Natasha and Irina?
Natasha and Irina.
Okay, sorry, I forgot. Natasha and Irina.
Because the argument is summative or impressive.
I'm sorry? Again?
This is the argument for anything.
No, so you have to argue like a Democrat about economics.
Economic, political life for society, not
We're going to start with economics. We're going to start with economic ideas, like here in the box.
May I?
Sure, of course.
As a Democrat, I want to say that the statement of our economic ideas is how we see favor minimum wages and progressive taxation, and there are many good ideas in our platform. For example, investment in public health. We invest in our public health infrastructure, and also there are some pros like free trade or our support for researchers in tax, in credit. what else? Our taxes, support early childhood education. We invest in expanding and reforming some grants to raise standards of education, to improve instructions in programs. These are some ideas.
Okay, good job. Okay, Irina, let's hear why. Let's hear why taxation should be increased. Why should taxes be increased, according to Democrats? What's the argument?
I think that tax and tax is very important. That tax should be better for people, and if people should be especially for the taxes, it's better for country and for position of the community.
Yulia, would you like to comment?
Yes, I do. Good evening, everyone. We are the party of Republicans, and we think that we are right, and we offer the following. In our opinion, we believe that taxes shouldn't be increased for anyone. Why? I will answer your question. The first thing is that nowadays we are living in the situation of free market. We know that there are a lot of private entrepreneurs in the USA and other countries, and so with the help of those people, we can make our economical situation better. As we know that nowadays our country is in the situation of funding gap, and our government now our government can't help people to earn their money. And however, private entrepreneurs, they don't depend on this system. However, they depended on it in less great, maybe. I don't know. So that's why if taxes are increased, it will be harder for private entrepreneurs. It's very difficult work for me to make the economical situation better. So that is our position, and I think that many people from different states will admit our position. Thank you.
Very nice. Very nicely argued. Very nicely argued. Natasha, would you like to say anything in response to that before we move on to the next question? Your microphone's muted.
I'm sorry. Yes, I disagree with Republicans because there are some good sides of increasing the taxes. For example, if we increase some taxes, we will provide that money in improving the economy. So our views on the taxation are based on the economics. I'll write it down.
Sure.
I can't
May I ask the question?
Okay, sure.
Natasha, could you explain it in more details, please? How are you going to improve the economics by increasing the taxes?
I reckon that the increasing of the taxes is always look for the people in that way, because people should send their money on the taxes. However, there are some pros to this. We can improve the economy using such ways like, for example, how to say, spending the money that went for taxes. We can subsidize vital services and infrastructure, road, bridges, maintenance. So also we call tax cut for the middle class. So there is I'm sorry.
A tax bracket, perhaps? So there's differences in taxes for the wealthier and versus the people who don't make as much money?
Yes.
Okay. I also wrote, Natasha, in the chat, another typical argument could be higher taxes means more revenue. More revenue means a greater ability to pay our bills. When we pay our bills, we don't need such a high debt ceiling. When we pay our bills, we don't have such a problem like we have now. And higher taxes, better social services equals happy people, and happy people buy more, don't they? That's another argument that you might hear. Also, I want to, before we move on to the next argument, I think we'll have time for one more argument today before class is finished. I would like to draw your attention to the poll. Do you see the poll questions? It's under the chat. It says polling. So this is an issue I think that we would discuss in the coming weeks based upon whether or not you would like to discuss the economy, gay marriage, abortion, death penalty, gun control, or the role of the government in people's lives. So I would like you to answer this question so that we know what you would like to discuss in the future. Everyone sees the poll, correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So if you could do that quickly, that would be good, and then we can make one more argument. If you're not too tired of arguing.
Oh, no.
Okay, never too tired.
Never too tired to argue.
Okay, so please tell me when you've finished choosing. So you can click it and then just make sure that you click submit at the bottom after you choose the issue. Okay, Yulia's finished. Okay, Natasha's finished. Anna, have you chosen? And Irina, have you chosen?
Yes.
Yeah, please choose now. Irina, you see the polling. heart, correct? You see polling? So chat. In the chat box it says polling. You see, right? And Anna, do you see?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. What did you hear?
The poll? Did you choose which issue you would like to discuss?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. You chose. So now we'll just make sure that, and I think Nadia had to go, I believe. Irina, did you choose?
Yes, yes.
Very good. Okay, so now you guys can decide, since the Democrats went first, which question would you like to begin with, Republicans, to argue next? Let's let Anna, which question would you like to argue with the Democrats? You can choose.
I think on abortion.
Okay. Okay, so what's the Republicans' position on abortion? Why should it be allowed?
I feel sorry. It should be allowed because it's important, and I think it's I'm sorry. I wanted to say a sense of that penalty. But, okay, about the abortion.
You can choose the death penalty. Do you want to choose the death penalty instead?
Okay, first of all.
Okay, sure, whatever. You can choose death penalty if you want.
We think that it should be illegal because it influence on democracy of the country, and it can.
Anna, are you still there? Oh, I don't know what happened. Can anybody hear Anna?
No, I can't.
Oh, okay, I can't either. Okay, so let's let the other Republican take over. Please finish for Anna. Why should it be legal?
We think, our party thinks that death penalty, right? Death penalty should be legal because it was proved by psychology that that people who do something one time, they will do it another time. So people who, for example, people who make a murder, who kill other people, and make our lives terrible and awful, I think that such people should be punished. But not only to be put in a prison for example, 20 to 25 years, and and after this time they can go out from this prison, but they should be killed.
You kill somebody in Texas and we'll kill you back.
Yes. They should be killed, because who knows what will do this man who killed one time, another time. When he goes out from the prison, he will be angry. He will be angry that he has spent all his life in this bad, awful place that is named a prison. And so then, when he goes out from the prison, he will kill everybody who helped to put him to this prison. Of course, it's some kind of maybe that description of the situation, but I think that death penalty should be legal.
Yulia, you sound like such a good Texan. You should move to Texas. They would like you there.
Really?
Would you anything to add, Anna or Irina? Anything to add?
I think for the market position that I will should be legal because I think I don't want to say that it's the good thing, but I think in some situations abortion is only still way out because it's important for such things as rape, disease, because children can't be healthy in some situations, and I think it's very important.
Yeah, that's a really good argument about abortion for sure. We kind of switched the topic quickly to the death penalty, but that is a very valid point. That's an argument that people make, so thank you for that. That's good. So let's hear the opposite side. Let's hear what the Democrats think about the death penalty.
In our party, views on the death penalty are different. My opinion, death penalty is
What is that? What is that?
I don't know. So I think that death penalty should be illegal because it's to steal people. I mean that there are some situations in our life when people who are not guilty, they go to the jail because they were blamed, and maybe there was some situation like a bad lawyer or maybe something like this. So if the death penalty is illegal, the government will steal the wrong person, and for the family of the person who was killed, it will be at least very sad and so the death penalty could be
No, that's a very good job. That's another very valid point that people make. So we saw two different sides of this. I think you guys did a really good job. The Democrats tend to say it's wrong to fight violence with violence, and that sometimes, as you said, Natasha, innocent people get convicted and punished for crimes that they did not commit, and that it's not it's not right to take the life of someone when there's always a small chance that they could be innocent. And then, of course, the Republicans say people need to be punished for their crimes. There needs to be an incentive not to commit crime. There needs to be the opposite of an incentive. Of an incentive is deterrent. So there needs to be a deterrent against a violent crime. So, okay, let's finish with that. I think you guys did a really nice job today. And was that a cat or a person? I don't know. Okay. Well, if it's a cat, I hope the cat is okay. If it's a person, I hope it's okay as well. So, I will see you all next week. Kostya will send you an email with the assignment for next week. In fact, I can look at it right now. If you give me 1 minute, I will see what the assignment is. Or Kostya, maybe you can tell us now. Give me a minute, please.
I think we can continue debates next time, but you will have more time to prepare a topic that you might want to choose. So you can choose gun control or role of government or gay marriage, the topics that we haven't discussed yet.
Yeah, so next time, guys, choose one of these issues and argue your point of view. For example, if you choose gay marriage and you say you are for gay marriage, you're going to say why. And you can do the same thing for abortion, death penalty, any of these others. So please post them in the blog, and we will also talk about them next week. Okay? Okay, thank you all for a wonderful job. Very nice. Werewolf or something. Okay. I'll see you guys. Take care.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.